You can go on a 27-hour flight, or you can go 4 hours from your home and do the same thing. One of my best, that turned out the best, was something close to home. And this is me, I'm behind the camera, and this is my 4 friends. 1, 2, 3, 4. We were 5 guys. We decided to go, we were fed up with everything. We wanted to go on a trip. We kept postponing it. And then in the end, we just ended up going for 4 days, I think, a long weekend into the mountains here, close. And we were going to hike the most mainstream mountain there is in Norway. One of them. There's 3. There's Pulpit Rock, there's Trolltunga, and there's Skjerag. Because we know close to Skjerag, we said, let's go to Skjerag. Maybe I was the driver for this trip because I hadn't had something published and some work done in quite a while, trying to find stories locally. Because the thing is that with most of my stories, I've gone abroad, and I've always, plane tickets are expensive. The way to get them to pay off is to sell the same story to a lot of magazines, but also to find a lot of stories on the same trip. I'm going to do a different video about that later. But doing something local, just a weekend trip, you don't have to use any money, no expenses, and only income. So that's what we did, okay? We're going to the most mainstream mountain of all, but the story, the angle is a bit different. It's not, if the story was my hike to Skjerag, that would have been completely boring story. But everybody knows the area from Skjerag, Preikestolen, what like 99.99% of people do. They walk up the mountain, have a look, have some lunch, walk down again, okay? With the one or the other. But we said, okay, let's do the whole fjord from the start to the end. Then I could call it Lysefjorden på langs, which means the Lysefjord on the longs. Walking the stretch of Lysefjorden. It's not that catchy in English. I would have to think a bit more that. Walking the whole fjord, which is something that's not that normal. Probably 5 to 10 people do it every week, so it's not a crazy out there, no one's seen this before trip. But my unique angle was that my writing was a bit unique. Also, we got great weather, so I got some great photography, which made the cover shot. I was like, what? And this is their summer edition. So this is like the fat edition, like the year's annual big magazine. And they made it the main story. So how much was it? 1, 2, here's a double spread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lucky, some of my best photos ever was in this. And the writing, let's not forget the writing. 7, and then when they weren't finished, 8, 9, and then he said, you know what people love? People love like equipment guides, tips and tricks. So then he was like, can you get some of the equipment that you used on your trip and write about them, find the prices and say why they would fit for this kind of trip. And write that, I'll give you £200 extra. I'm like, what? Okay. I just like, this is my sleeping bag, these are my shoes. This, like, it's funny to look at this now, because this is basically my basic kit. I haven't looked at that, that's weird, that's funny. And this tent is shit. This is like the worst tent you can ever have. But that's what I'm saying in the text. I've used this over the whole world. It's the shittiest tent. And equipment doesn't matter. What matters is that you have some drive and actually want to have fun. The only thing that's a lie here is the sleeping bag, because My sleeping bag is for the winter, and it does not fit for a summer trip at all. You're going to be sweating all night long. You'll have an awful time in the tent. So it just did not fit the recommendations. So I did a different sleeping bag. I think maybe it's the sleeping bag that I wanted to buy that I never bought because I used this money on something else. But anyways, my most successful story because it got a cover shot, which I'm really, really proud of, and a bunch of pages, the main story in the year's annual main edition, but also it was the one that probably paid the most because it was very low entry level. And how did that happen exactly? Well, one, I had sort of established. I've done some of what can I say? They knew who I was because I'd sold some photos, but nothing really big to them before. But I'd written something, and actually that summer they had a guest editor. I'm not sure if it was the lady who usually did, that was the usual editor that said, yeah, let's get the story, we want it, and then give it to the guest editor for the summer. She was probably away on maternity leave. Or I pitched it directly to the guest editor who didn't know who I was. But anyways, the guest editor took it on. He was the one who said, okay, cover shot, main story, double spread, all that stuff, and he gave me some good feedback, and I called him afterwards. Rarely ever call him, just email. I said, what did you like about the story? And he gave me some concrete feedback, and what he said was that you had a really unique take that we rarely see in these types of magazines, and it was me lying in my basement, looking out the window, peering out at the sky, and it was raining. Whole summer it was raining. Rain, shitty Norwegian rain, and then finally the weather report said sun. It's going to be sun, it's going to be fine. Please, Lord, let it be fine. And we set a date. Me and my 5 friends. So basically just telling the truth, but then putting in like a sort of gritty angle on it. If the right person read it, you could also almost read it as if I was a drug addict trying to use the nature as my rehab, but a depressed guy, but a bit like gritty, like in novels I really like. Hunter S. Thompson made a great inspiration for me with his gonzo journalism, and Charles Bukowski, so like a bit dirty, gritty writing. And what do I like to do? I like to go on hikes, experience nature. So okay, well, let's just combine them. Never seen like anything like that before. Because the most people who write those sort of stories, they're mainstream 40-year-olds hiking in perfect equipment that cost loads of money at some equipment store. Oh crap! I spilt water on my magazines. Shit! Took in a bunch of magazines and I've tried to preserve them and keep them and collected them for 15 years, and now I'm just spilling water all over them. I've only got one copy of that. I've only got one copy of almost everything. Luckily I've got something, some roll here to dry them off. That's not good. I'm not that sentimental about them anymore. Before I was like, I would be losing my knickers over this. I don't even know if that's a term. But anyways, what are we talking about? Yeah, making a weekend trip. Again, we did it different. We just tweaked it a bit differently, and essentially it's the skills you're bringing to the table. It's the core skills. Have you honed your craft? Do you know how to use a camera? Do you know how to write the story with a unique angle and not flowery words with all fantastic prose about the sunsets and loads of description? I think what set the story apart is that, you know, starting out as a writer, it was always description. What am I seeing? Blah, blah, blah. And that bores a reader. When I started crossing over into short stories and novels, I realised that story comes first. So I did a unique angle from me, from my perspective, and what I wanted, right? In a protagonist in a story, either you're doing screenwriting or novels or the guy who wrote the war book, not 1984, but one of the other greats, Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut was said in his teaching, if you want to know more about creative writing, absolutely recommend checking out Kurt Vonnegut. Not only did he write some of the greatest books in American literature history, probably American, I'm guessing, literature history overall actually, but he also did teaching. He was a prolific teacher in creative writing. And he said, make your character want something, even if it's just a glass of water. Even if it's just some water to drink. In the start of the story, make him want something. And that's what I crossed over into this story here. I wanted to get out of my mundane life and experience something. Could have been anywhere. Could have been, I don't know, a small cabin in right next door to my house. But I wanted to go something and relive the experiences from my youth. Bit over exaggerated, but with my friends in nature. And what is this? It's a magazine about being outdoors. It's called Outdoors. That's the name of it. So yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be. I've had here, actually got this right here. This is me and my wife and my kid in New Zealand, which is as far as you can get from Norway at all. We're driving around in a camper van. Sold it to a camping magazine. So you can go on a 27-hour flight, which costs you a lot of money, where you're going to lose money, even though you get it published. What I did is I went to lots of destinations and made lots of stories on the way. But anyway, you could go on the opposite side of the world to write a story and get something published, or you can go 4 hours from your home and do the same thing. This is the magazine that I'm most proud of, and that I don't know. It says something. It's all about the angle, and it's all about making it easy for the editors to buy it. Make it really easy. Make them understand what they're getting when they get the email, when you pitch it. I think that's it for this one, and get out there. You're great. I don't know why. Is that a tagline that works? You're great. Seems a bit cheesy, I don't know. Let me know if you think it's cringe and cheese, or you're like, oh yeah, I am great, that's nice. Alright, cheers.